Alright, so welcome back to video 2. In the last video we handled reading and writing from the file and also printing to the terminal. I also realized we forgot to comment on what print file does, but um, I'll just quickly get that in. But what we're going to handle today is actually adding user input to the file through appending and changing lines. And there are some more complex things that we can do, but I feel like I don't know if I'll go any farther than that, aside from a few things afterwards, because we'll have a pretty versatile text editor at that point. There are some other commands from Ed that you can add that I have added in a previous version that I've written, because I've written this program once before, a few weeks ago, just to see if it was doable and if I could do it. And I pretty much was able to get a fully fledged text editor written. Um, there's also going to be a GitHub linked in the description to that version. It'll be updated with parts of this version because I feel I've written some of this little better than the last version, but yeah, um, we're just going to deal with that. So today, well, first I got to finish this comment. So print file um, prints the file buffer with and without line numbers. All right, so we're gonna work on the next. Uh, we're gonna do a few commands. What we're gonna want to handle is appending to the file. So as you saw when I ran when I ran Ed in the first video, I ran the A command, and essentially what that does is that appends to the file. Um, and So if you have nothing in the file, you can just, if you create a new file, it's blank and empty, you just hit append or you do the A command, you type in your text, then you hit period, and it'll add that into the file buffer. Or if you open a file that already has text in it, it'll append it to the end of the file. That is essentially what we're going to be working on right now. And I'll just give this a comment. Appends to file with user input. Um, and all we're gonna do here is just call an append command, and we'll come down here and we'll write that now. So do our little comment stuff and private static void append, and it's not gonna take in anything. And now we are ready to begin. So, what do we need to do? Well, we're gonna need user input. So I'll just store that in a string because we'll need to access it. That's going to be called input. And then I guess what we'll need to do is we're going to want to probably use a while loop because we want to keep going until the user inputs align with just a period. So we'll do in some parentheses, and then we're going to need it's going to be false because the way I'm going to write it, we're going to need a not symbol. So we can set input equal to kb in dot next line, and then we're going to want to check if that is equal to just a line with just a period equals dot. And if that is, so that basically what this will do is this is going to set input equal to the user input at a line, and then we're going to check if that is equal to just a period, which it'll return false, but this not will make it return true, so we'll go into the loop. But when this is true, this will make it false and we'll stop the loop. And then we'll just want to add the input to the file buffer. Forgot buffer. And that should be it there. I think we can test this now. No errors, okay. And here we have that, and we're just going to want to append, and we'll just add this is more test. This is a test of append. Hello. And now we have all of those. And we can also test the write feature, which there's an error writing the file. Um, hmm. I think the error, well, no. No, because file name would be set, so it's not that. Um, you know what? I know what it is. It's with this create file here. We have essentially two, uh, well, the issue is that we're returning one if we get to here, but we're also returning one if there's an input-output exception. So what we should do, I believe, we're just going to want to return 0 there. And we can just, oh, because we should never really end up here. The try catch will keep us in this area, but we'll just need that for just safety purposes. So let's rerun this. And let's see, we have our file. So I'm just going to append this is a test. This is a test of append. Hello. Now we see we have all that. And if we write, we didn't get an error, which is good. And now if we list out what's in, we have written a file. So that's a little good error that we caught there. So that's append. Append is very simple and easy to write. Appends user input to the file buffer. All right. Let me just save that. So now we're going to implement probably two more commands in this video. We're going to do, I guess we'll need one to change the line, and then also one to delete the line. Because after that, from what I've written, I might continue on, but essentially after that we should have everything we need for the text editor. And now I'm thinking about it as well, because I'm looking at just the commands we already have. There is one more command that we will need, which is going to be um, if there's a space after the W, because what if you want to do, W file name? We can't handle that yet, so we got to fix that. So I'm going to do that right below this because it's right there. Like it goes with that. And then we're going to need substring because we want to basically check if the W has a space after it. Um, so that'd be 0 to 2, I believe. Let me just, yeah, that'll be 0 to 2. Substring 0 to 2, and that's going to get the first two characters. And if that is equal to W like that, then we'll want to, what do we want to do? We're going to want to, we'll split it with the space. And uh, yeah, we'll split it with the space and then into a string array. So we're just going to need string array. I'm just going to call that S. and that is just going to be equal to new string, and that's just going to have two there, and then we'll just want to do s dot cmd dot, or s equals cmd dot split space, and that should be good. And then also, before we go into writing the file, we should set has no name equals false, and that should be, that's right, because yeah, by default it's true. Um, and then we'll just do the error write file, and then S1, because that'll get um, the second position of the array, and that'll supply that because that's going to be the file name, and that'll supply that to write file. And that should be everything we need there, but also I realized I forgot, because we have multiple lines, we're just going to need squiggly brackets. And I'm going to test that real quick before we move on to changing a line. I need to quit out of this though. Ooh, okay. I've gotten some errors. Parser line 38. 38. Huh. There's something wrong with this. What is the issue with this? Um, what is it saying? Index out of bounds. Is that what we're getting? Java lang string index out of bounds 0, 2. Um, huh. So we're getting an index out of bounds for CMD because for some reason, hmm, hmm, okay. I think the issue might be the placement of this here. I'm gonna put this down here. We're gonna see if that fixes it. And if that does, I'll explain what the issue is. Um, okay, that fixed it. So essentially, what the issue was is that with else ifs, we're running through each else if. So this one is not true. We'll move on to the next one. Now the problem is that we're going 0, 2 in this substring, but the command provided only has 0 to 1. So we just need to make sure that the substrings that have like 0, 2, they end up at the bottom, because we want to run through all of these first, because these ones will give that error of a string index out of bound, because you can't take from the 0th position to the 2nd position when all you have is the 0th position to the 1st position. Um, so now if I try this though, and I bring up just Jed, and let's say I just append test, and then I will go w temp.txt and quit, and then there should be temp.txt, and it worked. I'm going to get rid of that file though, just because we now know that works. We don't need that. And next, what we'll probably want to do is change line. So essentially, what this is going to do is the user will supply a line. So in ed, what will happen is if we run this on test.txt, and we have all the 7 lines here. What I can do is I can just set to line 3, which in this case is file, and I can go C, and then I can go file, 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 and then period, and then next time we print it out, line 3 is going to be that, and I'm going to save that. So that's what we want to do. So we're going to have to handle a few things. We first need to figure out if the user input is a number, and then we're going to want to set a variable with the line number. And how should we do this? Because the only issue is that the human variables are 0 or 1 to 10. They start at 1. But the way the program works is it starts at 0 because that's just the way computers work. So probably um hmm, we'll have to think of this. I guess we'll probably just want to I guess in the program itself we'll want to set it to program to like with the programs we'll -1 to get it to the range that the computer uses. And then for whenever we're printing it to the user, we'll just want to add 1 to that. So I think the best way to do this is we'll just put another else if right here, and we'll just have a function that checks if there is a number inputted. Also probably also just comment this w writes a file with user inputted name. I put one too many T's there. Whoops. And then we'll just do is num. This will be a boolean, and I'll take in the string, which is cmd. And I guess what we'll want is an integer. Well, what we want to do is two things. We want to set an integer, which we'll probably want to do just a global one. Private static int. We'll call it current line. By default, that'll be set to 0. Just in case we access a program that needs that. And then what we'll want to do is we'll go current line. Yeah, we'll go current line equals and then integer parse int, and that is going to take in CMD, and that'll basically if the string is just numbers, it'll convert it over to numbers, and it'll set that to set the current line integer to that value. Except we want a -1 for the program. Um, and then we also want to print out the line like ed does. So print, should I do print ln or let's print it out with the line number. Well, no, because you already know what the line number is because you're inputting it. So we'll just do print ln, and we'll just go file buffer dot get current line and current line. Well, yeah, file buffer dot get current line. That's all we're going to do there, and we're going to need squiggly brackets, and then um, hmm, yeah, that'll work there. That's all fine. We just need now the isNum function, which we'll do down here, and this will be a boolean that we. How do we want to do this? It's going to be a boolean. I guess let's do it. The simplest way I can think of is just a try catch. Um, private static boolean is num string s, because we'll just bring in we have to bring in whatever the string is that's being supplied. And there's probably a better way to do this, but the simplest way I can think of is just trying to convert it to a int and then catching um, any number format exceptions, which is essentially what you get when you try to convert, let's say, like if you had a string of hello and you try to convert it to a integer, you'd get a number format exception, in which case we'll return false. And then we also can get a null pointer exception, so we'll want to catch that too. Um, and we'll return false because you can input a empty string. Um, and then if we get to here, I guess we'll just return true. And that should be everything needed for that. So let's try it. Let's see, are there any errors? There are no errors. Let's print out all the lines. Let's go with line 3, which we know is file, 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 which we get correct. That's cool. Which means everything is set properly and works. So now we can get on to, actually I'm going to do delete line before we do change line because delete line is another simple one. But first let me just do this. So um, checks if CMD is a int and prints that line. Um, okay. I'm gonna just put, oh, yeah, I'll put that up here. Um, else if, and then in ed, if you just provide a D, like just the letter D, it will delete the current line, which is what we're going to add in. What's the current line? And I guess we'll just go with delete. Well, do we even really need a function? Because we're just deleting the line that we're on. Yeah, we don't even need a function for this. We could just put in file buffer dot remove and then current line. And that should be good there. So let's test this. Always save your programs. You never want to accidentally mess something up. And we'll set line to 3, which is going to be that. We'll run D. Now when we print, we don't have that line, but I don't want to save that because I want to keep that line. And I guess now we'll write the change line function. Uh, yeah, we'll do change line. Um, okay, so how do we want to do that? So first we'll start with just the simple else if cmd dot equals c line and appends more strings. So that's essentially what is going to be done for uh, oh, for change line. Also forgot to just add a comment. Okay. Um, because when you run C, it'll delete the current line, and then you go into append mode, essentially, from your current position. So all you will have to do is just do change line, which will be the function name. And then we'll come down here and we'll write that. Um, and I'll get the comments later. Private static. Um, should this be void? I'm gonna make it void. I don't see a reason why it should be an integer to handle any errors. So helps if I put in brackets, and then file buffer. We're gonna want to first what we need to do is remove the current line that we have set to. So remove current line. I don't know why I keep doing that. And then we're going to need to take user input. Essentially, we're just going to want to append, but append to our current position, which now actually has me thinking append could start. We could write append in a way that we can just call append from here. Like all this does is just remove that and then appends. Look at the append command. Um, oh, yeah, no, we could write the append command in a way that in a way that we can just call it from here. In fact, we probably could get rid of. Well, I think for just simplicity point, we will do a change line function, but we could just call append with the current position because if we go to here, well, no, we can't do it that way because append always has to append to the end of the file, even if the current line is changed. So never mind. We're gonna keep it in its own change line in its own separate function. Because the issue was the way I was gonna write it was that it would start from the current line and then keep appending. But the problem with that is what happens if your current line's set to 3, but your file is 7 lines. You don't want to start appending in the middle of the file. You want to append to the end of the file. So we're essentially just going to copy um, uh, we're just going to copy append because they're basically the same function, but with like 2 lines different. We're going to need an integer that is going to be set to current line, and then line plus plus, because what we're going to want to do is just add it into, we're basically going to take everything from append, but what we're going to do is we're going to add it to after the current line that we just did. And then after we call that, it'll add 1 to this, so that if you keep going, it'll increment by more. And that should be it. So let me just write this. Uh, delete current line ends from there. All right. If we have an issue, I forgot a parenthesis up here. There needs to be one more. Okay. Let's print out all this. Let's set line to 3, and we're gonna run C. So now what we're gonna do is go file, 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 file. Hello. Little smiley face, and yeah, that should be good. And now if we print, we see that line 3 has been changed, and then we have appended more lines in between, or after line 3. and we're good there. Let me see how long this video is. This is 30 minutes. Do I want to add anything else? I might make a third video and call it here for this video. Um, that will handle some more complex uh, functions for it. But I feel like for right now, we have a pretty solid text editor. You can read files, you can write files, you can append, change lines, delete line, and it's pretty workable. So for now, I'm gonna leave this video here, and I might come back for a third video with some more advanced stuff. So thank you for watching, and see ya.